Hello, everybody. Welcome to this live stream. I'm David East, and I hope this mic's working. If anybody has anything to kind of like technically, if there's something wrong, just let me know. This is the first time I'm going with this streaming setup, so it's a little bit upgraded from my previous streams. So I'm just gonna post them. So who is? Oh, everybody's got me thumbs up. Sweet. All right. So who here was at ng-conf last week? Anybody at ng-conf? I was, but you know, kind of had to be. Anybody from ng-conf? Any ng-conf attendees? But last week at ng-conf, I did this jam-packed, like, oh, hey, Eli. This jam-packed video of how do you integrate Firebase and Angular together and just like all these different things. I only had 20 minutes. I went 20 minutes and 33 seconds because I knew they'd give me the extra time. But it was a lot, and I kind of just did it on pretty much like 1.5x speed on the screencast and just read through it really quickly. So it was more of a demonstration of the power of the things you can do with Angular and Firebase. And that while the code isn't too much, it's just, there was just a lot that I did. So it was kind of just like so this whole series is going to be slowing all of that down. So we're going to just kind of step by step go through, and I hope you can, this way. Yeah, this way. So this is the app I built. It's called Kanban. It's a Kanban board. And what you basically do is you log in, you create tasks, and you can rearrange them just like a Kanban board. And I also did things like you can add collaborators to your project. So you type in someone's email, and it will it'll add them to your project. But if they are not a part of the app, it'll send them an email. So that'll use Firebase extensions. We'll use Cloud Functions. We're going to use security rules. And depending on how the series goes, there's lots of different things we could use. So let's kind of get started with this. And I'm doing this whole thing in StackBlitz, by the way, which, you know, right, who loves StackBlitz? I love StackBlitz. Who loves StackBlitz? But I've never used StackBlitz this intensively before. So I'm hoping that everything's going to be fine. But so let's get going. All right, so I'm gonna delete. I had some stuff going before this to see if it was all gonna work. But this tab is it's reloading. That's the app. This is the StackBlitz, and this is our Firebase home. Well, that's me getting the settings, but this is Firebase. So now I'm going to get started. So the first thing I want to do is I want to get to this projects page, which I don't have right here. And so I'm going to write some dummy data so we can see it just appear on the page. And then we're going to start working on adding Firebase data to it. Because a key thing I always like to do is before I go in and try to pipe it into a backend of any kind for that matter, or even before I go and do any code, I actually always, I designed out in Sketch first. And so I always start in Sketch, and then I move to static HTML, and then I refactor that into components. And then from there, I start piping in data. So there's sort of this process, and this is about, you know, midway through that process. But all these SVGs right here, I didn't make these. This is all from a site called Undraw. So if you're wondering, this stuff is super cool. But let's actually write some code now. So go here. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is take you a tour through the project. So let me close out of some of these. I have to always remember not to hit Command W because I'm in a browser, so it's just going to close this, and that would make me very sad. So what this app is I actually sync this in from GitHub. And it was a straight Angular CLI app. I just synced in, and StackBlitz just picked up on it, which is really cool. And it's even using the Angular Tailwind. So I'm not totally sure how it's able to do this, but it's doing it. StackBlitz is just magic. And so we have these components. We have this we have a project module, that is. We have a project module, a profile module, shared UI, which is UI that's shared across all the modules, and undraw, which is all the SVGs. And then landing page isn't actually a module, it's a component of app module. And then app module straps up with app component, which just talks to the router. And our route is simple. It says, hey, here's a path of landing page component. And then this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be building out this project. And so that is a route of project, project ID, and it's a lazy loaded route. So let's go into project and start doing some stuff. So this is our project component. It doesn't really do much. I can close out these styles. Pretty much it has an activated route injected in and an ID. So let's move on from there. So the first thing I want to do is actually, no, I don't want to go into here yet. I want to start building out the board that I'm actually trying to do. So currently, if we go into projects, let me see. The chat is empty. Let's see here. Oh, the window's small. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Eli. I forgot to do, see, this is a new setup for me. Ha! How about that? Or should I just go all in? I don't really know. Let's see here. Little screen. Me or full screen. All right, I'm gonna go with this for now. If you don't want me kind of right there, you just kick me out. I'm not offended by that at all. I just don't know what people are looking for here. So if just let me know what you're thinking about. All right. So let's get going. Full screen might be better. All right, you know what, Eli, I trust you. I think you know what you're talking about. Okay, fine. Full screen. You can't see me. It's fine. It's fine. All right. Here we go. All right. So back into the app. So let's do that. So what I want to do is just build out the UI. So let's go into that. And all right. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just create this idea of a scroll area, which I believe it is called calm scroll area. And this is a custom component I wrote that really doesn't do too much. So if we go into scroll area, all it does is add this class of scroll area, which I don't think does anything, but it's more just declarative than anything. And then it puts overflow X scroll class from Tailwind, which pretty much says, the overflow on the x-axis allow you to scroll, because since it's multiple columns on a phone, we want to be able to swipe. I'm still looking into the camera like you all can see me. All right. So here we go. So let's go back into the project component and project HTML. Here we go. All right. And so then the next thing I want to do is I'm going to put this all in what I believe is this thing called calm board. All right, and calm board. Look at board. Board just applies a lot of, gives it a bunch of width. I kind of have this hard-coded class in right now, which probably should fix, but it's fine. And pretty much what this does is makes sure the board's nice and long, and it applies some responsive classes for the padding as things get bigger and smaller. So if you've never used Tailwind before, Tailwind allows you to specify styles responsively. And so any styles that exist on the element are its base classes. And so those apply at the smallest level. And as the screen gets larger, you write classes that override that smaller class. So that's why I have LG and XL here. So these only apply on larger screens, and everything else applies all on smaller screens. So Tailwind's super amazing if you have not used it before. So yeah, so then we have the board, and then from here we can start using the columns. So what we have here is I have another custom class of calm task column. This is actually a way that I really like to do most of my apps is abstract a lot of not even just logic or and that. I like to abstract away just any inconsistency that you could have with using a component over and over again. And even if it's something really basic where you're just doing an ng-content, it's nice to be able to update it at one spot and have it update everywhere. It's just like a really nice, simple, declarative way of stating things. Check the chat to make sure nothing's going crazy. Can you overlay yourself? See, I'm getting all right. Here we go. Fran, you got it, Fran. That one's for you, Fran. And let's see here. All right, so now, clicking on too many things. All right, so now inside here, just for you to see, column task column, I don't think really does too much. I do have an HTML. Yes, it just applies so another, again, hard-coded width that I could turn into a class, but it just does some templating and some padding and nothing too crazy. And this actually class, we can take a second to talk about this. I think this is really cool. One of the things you can do with Angular and Tailwind together. So this is called a column heading, and this is like an H1, H2, and I supply this text size, which if you used to Tailwind, you have this like SM or XS, SM, MD, LG, XL, 2XL, 3XL, 4XL, I think all the way up to 6XL, and you can write your own XL classes. But basically this maps to those, and there's a bunch of other things I can do as well. Like I believe I can say text for text color, and so I could say whatever Tailwind color I have on that. And if we go into that in the shared UI, I thought this was really just a nice mix between the two. Where is it? Heading, here it is that it's ng content, so you transclude the content into there, and then I apply these host classes, so font display, so it's this like big bold font. Make sure that it's also bold, block, because all components, the host class by default will be inline, I believe. And then what we do is we have these inputs for text size, which are specifically typed to these ones, even though in the template that doesn't matter. And then text align, so left, right, center, the text color. And then what we do here is you have these host bindings that say, hey, if it's, matches this one, this is its value, apply these classes. So I thought this was just a very interesting way. There's probably a more dynamic way of doing this, but it's a nice declarative way of specifying styling across there and doing it also based upon any conditional logic. So Tailwind and most frameworks work really well together, but Tailwind and host bindings and inputs and stuff is a really cool mix. I think there's like a library there, but I gotta do more to figure that out. And then the next we have is TaskList, column TaskList. Yes, and this is where we can finally start doing some magic. So a column TaskList will take in a task or tasks. So we're going to provide an array of tasks here. Let me check the chat real quick. All right, so we are, all right. So now what I'm going to do, this is a brand new setup for me, so I feel like I don't know what's going on. I'm using StreamYard, which is pretty cool. I was a fan. All right, so tasks. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a simple little tasks array on the, here, so tasks. And that's going to be an array of column task. And then that, is it going to be able to find that? Cool. And so column task, what is it? It's like one item, the title of do live stream, category, not started. And then there's some user properties in here. So UID, just say fake because not real. And then there's a photo URL as well. I should have formatted this. All right. So basically what we're doing here is we're just going to get a setup for when we do have real data. Just gonna nothing. Oh, capital URL. All right, we got one task. Excellent. So now we can say tasks is just tasks. So we'll have one working column if this all goes well. I'll need to go to the route. All right, 1 second. Let's let this load. And this will be project / whatever, because it doesn't matter. Probably should add it as a link too, but we'll see. All right, cool. So the photo URL, there's no photo URL, but we have ourselves this column. And we didn't give it a heading, I believe. Oh, I know why. Because this has a title, and I can say not started. Edit. I'm not using hot module reload because sometimes weird things happen with it, but then this happens where the load is really slow. I guess it just feels slow because StackBlitz is so fast all the time. All right, cool. So now title, and then we can add all this in. So let's actually work on doing that. Let's fill this board out and check the chat. So I feel like chat's a little empty. What should we talk about? This is my favorite part of doing the live stream is chatting with everybody because I've been stuck inside for pretty long time. So I really like to engage with people in the chat. And then when I'm just kind of staring at the screen doing this by myself, it's much less fun. So I'm just going to be like, how's everyone doing? Let's get this party going. All right, so we got this one. Now let's just copy and paste. I would actually do this whole ng-for thing, but I'm going to get to why I'm not doing that in just a little bit. So not started, and then this one will be in progress, and we're just going to use the same tasks for now, but we will split that up later. So in progress when the task is done, and then also we know that tasks have these intermediate states of not started, in progress, and done, but there is the ultimate last task category that that we all know about. And it's not done. It's done. Because you know how it is when you finish something and you tell someone like, hey, I'm done. And then they're like, oh yeah, did you write the test for that? And you're like, well, no, but it's done. And they're like, well, does it sound like it's done? And you're like, well, no, it's not done, but it's done. Like it's not out there yet, but just give me some credit here. So I always like to say like it's done, but it's not done. So I actually worked at a company where we literally talk this way, where we'd say it's done, but not done. Let's see here. Is this Angular version 9? I don't know. I think so. Oh, here goes the difference. Yes. Done. That's right, City Square. Done. It's very different than done. All right, so now when we go look at the thing, all right, so we have all these same tasks. So what I'm going to do now, because this looks like, for the most part, this is working, I'm going to go into the database. And all right, so we have this very simple. We have these projects and then the document. So a collection of projects, a document of Angular Fire Live, which is, the project. And then we have this mission, live stream, and do other good things too. Name Angular Fire Live, go to tasks, and we have this single task where it's not started, and then some other fake user data with the title of do a live stream. So we're going to start by doing that. We're going to get this bound, and then we'll get it to the point where we can create and move tasks. And I think that will probably be enough for this live stream. So that was probably something I should have stated in the beginning. That's the whole point of this. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to hook this up to Firebase. I don't know how many minutes it took me to get there. Oh, I don't want to ruin that just yet. Let's copy that. All right. So the way that this works is I do have, if we can find dependencies. Here it is. So we have these dependencies. We have Firebase, and let's see. Yeah, here we go. Angular 9.1. Because the way that StackBlitz does, it says this checkbox for enable Ivy, and I don't know if I want to check that. It sounds a little scary right now, so I'm not going to do that. All right, so back here, let's open that back up. We're going to add Firebase in. So the first, or Angular Fire specifically. So you just say import from at Angular/Fire. And then this will give us access to the Angular Fire module. And then what we can do in this is go down to the imports and say Angular Fire module dot, and we can call initialize app with some config. And I actually have this config in this environment, which is just like the Angular CLI. So just take a look at it. So if we go to environment, it just has this, environment.firebase with all my Firebase config. So back to the module. So I call in environment.firebase. Awesome. So that just gets us hooked up to Firebase. It tells us where the back, or tells Firebase like where the backend is, but it does not tell us, doesn't give us anything else beyond that. So that is right here for import, and we're going to import from Firestore. So the way Angular Fire is set up is that we have all of these sub packages for every one. So that way you don't have to worry about the imports. They also import Firebase behind the scenes for you. So like the core Firebase libraries. And this way that when you add these modules in, you don't have to worry about like getting modules, from like, oh, I wasn't using auth, and so it doesn't end up in your app. So it keeps everything broken out nice. And this is the Angular Firestore module. And then we just need to add that in here. And fun fact about Angular Firestore module, you can call enable persistence, and this will enable full offline persistence. To really see the biggest benefit of that, you need a service worker so your app can load offline, and so the offline works when you're actually offline. We're not going to do that yet, so I'm not going to call it. But it's a really cool thing about Firestore, completely offline. All right, so now let's go to this. Let's go to the project. And then now we're going to inject Angular Firestore, which I always call AFS. And it's not a great and very descriptive name, but I do it enough that I feel like it's descriptive to me, and it's all in the docs as well. I always like to make sure. Okay, so we have some imports as well. I want to get auth out of here. All right. So we have Angular Firestore, or Firestore collection, and Angular Firestore document. We'll get into those in a little bit. All right, so now check the chat real quick. Let's see. You are missing the column for almost done. That's very true. A to-do board named COM board shouldn't let you enter more than one task. That's also very true and pretty done. How about like as done as it's gonna get? What are other really good task categories? Almost done. Got a lot of stuff almost done. All right, so now let's go into here and let's start by just trying to read tasks. So right now we're gonna have tasks as an array of calm tasks, but I'm a huge fan of finish notation. I think it might just be my nostalgia from the jQuery days where we just put like $signs on everything. And so if any of those don't know the name of this or know this technique or style preference, whatever you refer to it as, this is called finish notation, where you put a $sign behind your variable to basically say that it's an observable. I'm not fully sure if I'm doing it correctly, because I think it's the $sign supposed to represent multiple. So you might have to delete the S. I don't really know, but I find that to be confusing. So I don't do that. So I just put a $sign at the end of something. So I don't know, I like it. Makes me feel cool. So we're going to have this not be dummy data anymore. We're going to create an observable of calm tasks. And now inside of this, we can say this dot tasks is this dot AFS dot collection of projects dot doc of this project ID. And this is getting a little out of hand, and we'll fix this here in a second too. Project ID, because that's what we're getting from the route, and then called dot collection of tasks. So this gets us down to there, but this is just a collection reference, which actually Let's do that now. I always do this while it's too late. I always forget to add these as properties onto the component, so that way I can use them in like on new task later. So task call is Angular Fire collection, and we also can say it's of a calm task. Did I not? Oh, Angular Firestore collection, and it's generic, and you don't have to put in an array unless you were saving an array of things. So we say of what's the single unit of the collection. So tasks call, and so I'll say this dot, oh no, this dot tasks call, and then this dot tasks is surprisingly hard to say. So this dot task call dot value changes. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to provide this nice little convenience property called IDField. And so the way that value changes works is, let's go here into the database. Value changes is going to just bring back these values right here of this document, but we don't get this ID back at all. We could get that back if we call it .snapshot changes, because that returns the data snapshot, which is, you know, an object itself that has all the metadata about it, other helper methods on top of it. But then when you call snap.data, it returns back just the fields. And a lot of times you want both the ID and the field, especially when you're going to be doing any type of data manipulation. You want to reference the object by its ID. So what I like to do is just map that ID onto the object locally. So that you can do with IDField. Let's just say whatever you want that. It could be ID, it could be key, it could be underscore ID, it could be, you know, really whatever you want. So let's do that. And so now this is going to return an observable of tasks. So when I save, it's not going to be exactly what I want, but we'll have something. Oh, this is another thing I like. I don't know why this is happening with StackBlitz. Let's install those missing packages. Turbo is their name of their package manager, and it knows when things are missing. And it does work a little differently, though. So it's installing that. Okay. It kind of needs things. It kind of, it picks up on things differently than like NPM does, I've noticed. I mean, it's basically their own package manager. All right, I'm going to close out of that and just open it up again. Let's see what's happening. This is going to break on me. I'm going to cry. This was, okay, we're working. All right, we're not that route though. So let's go to project slash, what do I call it? Angular Fire Live. I'm going to copy that if I can. These Angular, there we go. All right. Project slash Angular Fire Live. Let's see what happens. Let's see if things don't break. Won't do. Oh, that's a great one, Eli. Okay, so things are working. It's not reading anything, I think. Let's figure out something. Can you synchronize tabs property for offline? Yes, you can. That is like the big thing there. Synchronizing tabs was a huge effort by the team, and it's really cool because that's something that really advanced offline apps can't even do just because it's so difficult. They, don't spend the time trying to figure that out, or it's just not as like high priority for whoever it is. But basically the Firestore team wanted it to be able to, that you can, it used to be single tab only for offline, but now it's multi-tabs. It's a pretty amazing feature. Probably do a stream about that later. All right, so let's go in here and let's figure out why it won't load the data. Lots of reason why it won't load. Okay, so there's no, I know why, because I didn't template it. Huh. Fancy that. Okay, so let's go into project component because it's going to say tasks and there's no tasks. And I think it's in dev mode, so that's why it didn't scream at me, but it should have screamed at me. All right, so let's actually, before we even do that, let's just do the magic. So it makes no sense really to bind this array of tasks to each array in the columns. So what I really want to do is I want to say like the not started tasks go here and the in progress tasks go here and there on and so forth. And so I don't want to store that data in the database as like a map of arrays. I could, but I don't want to. I could make a document of board and then sub collections of each one and read it in that way. And that might work in some cases, might not in others. So the way I like doing it right now is storing it all as a single collection of tasks, or a sub collection in this case of tasks, and then using Rx to turn it into an object. And that might get really crazy and tedious down the line, or might cause problems, but right now it works really well. And Occam's razor is it's a good thing. So what we're going to do here is we're going to call this test call value changes pipe, because it's just an observable. And then we're going to pass through map. And then this is going to return all of the tasks. All right, so what we can do in here, why does it not? Oh, because I don't think I imported map. Only tap map. All right, so now we have our map operator. And now what we'll do is we're going to create an object. I just call this hash. And because it hashes the tasks, it's probably a horrible name for it. And now what we'll do is we're going to iterate through tasks. So we're going to say tasks dot for each task. You want to make sure that this object, so what it'll eventually end up looking like is like not started, new started, not started, and it's going to have an array of all these tasks. But at first, it's not going to exist. So we need to handle that. And to do that, we'll say tasks or hash of task dot category equals, it would be an empty array if there's nothing in there, but we can say equals, let's see here. I can't, what did I do here? You say if it doesn't exist, let's see. Let's see. Filling creators. All right. Let me check comments real quick and see. Won't do. Okay. Yeah. All right. So you would say equals an empty array. So you'd say if, what is it? Hash. Sorry, I got to copy this. I always forget this, these shorthands. So you say if not this, or equals that, or an empty array. I think that's it. And then, yes, I believe that's it. And then if not, you'd say this equals, the category is concat the arrays together, basically. And then we return hash. And it's going to hate this, but that's fine because we have, do I not have this? Okay, so I did not create the class for it. So basically I'm going to create an interface of hash, task hash. That's what I'm going to call it. And that is, you'd say a key of string, if I can type, key of string is an array of column tasks. This is a nice little type safety right here. So task hash, column task. All right. And then what we're going to do is change this to be a hash, and it's going to be an observable of hash or task hash. Oof, yeah, this is bad naming. Oof. I'm going to ask that question. What should I actually call task hash? All right. Let's see here. All right, so now we want to fix this type. So we'll say hash, and that should work. Awesome. So basically this, just to recap this, let's get these values as an observable, like just this single collection or sub collection of tasks, and then map the ID field onto that, call .pipe to do a map operator where we take this single list of arrays and then basically partition them as a map of, an object of arrays instead. And that makes it really easy now in task. I don't want this one open. In project component, we can say, actually I'm going to do the star ng-if as trick. And so ng-if, say hash type async as hash. So now it's unwrapped inside of this element. You can say task is hash dot not started, and then hash dot in progress, and then hash dot done, and everybody's favorite hash dot done done. All right, so now let's save all of this, and let's do its magic. Let me check to see what we got. Let's see. No one knows what's called task cache. See, naming's hard. Or am I just like talking to a bunch of backgrounded tabs? I don't really know. Let's see here. All right, so project/AngularFire live. And if this works, hashtag Firebase. That, okay, yeah, you win. You win. That one's good. That one's really good. Hashtag Firebase. I'm going to be working on some new Ask Firebases soon. All right, so here we go. This is cool. We have this in here. And the goal is you can drag right now because of the CSS class on it. But we'll actually work on making a snap drag here in a little bit. But we have this, we have that fake URL, and we could, go through and make more tasks, but I actually want them to be draggable. So let's work on that. So one of the things I really like about Angular is its Angular CDK. Is anyone else who here likes / has used / has heard of / whatever the Angular CDK? I'm a big fan of the Angular CDK. I think it takes a lot of really, a lot of common tasks in component development and makes them a lot easier. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to use the Angular CDK as this dropList, where you can basically take a whole, you can take these columns and we can get it so you can drag and drop across the two. And we're going to do it a little differently because of Firebase, but it still works pretty well. So I always forget the markup for this, so I'm going to paste it in. You're going to have to forgive me for that, but here we go. So let's delete this task list for right now, and let's paste in all the things it needs. Okay, so this is a Angular CDK enabled div. I don't know what to call that. A container. I think it is called a container. Yes, this is like a drag container. I don't know. So I give it an ID of not started, and that's actually really important, as I learned, because you can get the ID of this, and then this maps to the actual category. So when we save this into Firestore, that not started is very important. Then there's the CDK drop list directive, and then there's the CDK drop list dropped. Ooh, that's a mouthful. CDK drop list dropped drop event. And then we have this template reference that the CDK needs to reference the directive of CDK drop list. And then class, this class of min hscreen means the minimum is going to be 100% view height. And this is also very important, as I learned as I made this, because if you don't supply this, when there's no tasks in the list, it's auto. So it's just going to, you can't drag into it. There's no pixel width to do that. So you need some surface to drag into. And so just by doing 100%, it works really well. And then the CDK drop list data, which is our array of hash not started. And then this one is really cool, is CDK drop list connected to. And this will be all of the template variables for or the references or whatever we call them for the other drop list. So as we make the other ones, they'll reference this and it says, what can I drop to? So it it basically limits and controls what is you're allowed to drop to. I want all to be dropped from anyone because the Kanban board, you should be able to do that. But in other cases where you need to be more restrictive, that's a really great feature. The one thing that, and actually the whole reason why I've not done this in an ng-4, and I really want to figure out how to do this, I didn't have time to figure out for the ng-conf talk, is that this template, you have to call it, you have to create a unique name for it so it can be referenced in here. And this all of a sudden makes things very difficult for dynamic iteration over it, where I'm trying to spit them out in an ng-4, because this needs to be named. And as far as I know, and if someone else knows, please let me know, you cannot dynamically create this name. And then on top of that, what makes it more complicated is that these variables are locally scoped inside of the template. So if I do the ng-4, I would have to turn these task columns. I would probably wrap this in the task column that would only exist inside that local scope. And so they wouldn't know about the other columns. So that's also another problem. And so I think there's some way of solving this with view children, but I've just spent the last 2 minutes describing this problem. So you see that's kind of crazy. So if anyone knows how to do these, has any idea of how you would do this, please let me know, because it's a little with the CD. That's the one thing about template variables, is that they're very handy, but the scoping of them when you have multiple can make things kind of crazy. I'm sure someone on the CDK team is probably like, oh my gosh, this is so easy, man. So I would, if you know, just let me know. But so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend the rest of this time actually just really just pasting this in to speed up this. It always takes me 10 times as long to do something in a live stream than it does in reality. So the same thing here. We have in progress, the template variable for that, the data for that, and the respective list for that. And then we want to do the one for done. So I'll go down to done. There we go for done. And this one doesn't even have this. I'm not gonna mess with that right now. That's a version 2 feature. And then done. Just paste done in. And cool. Here we go. So now that's there. And I'm not going to save yet, because if I did, bad things would happen. We need to add that. Let me just go back to show you. We need that CDK dropList dropped event. So that goes in right here. So you go drop, and what's the type for that? I always forget. It's like a drop event, CDK drag drop. Let me make sure I'm just going to paste. Yes. So this gives us an event of CDK drag drop, just string array of the things that were dragged and dropped. I'm not totally sure. But what you do is you check to see if the event.previous container is not equal to the same container. So I'm not rearranging it within the same. That's something I haven't implemented yet, where you can change the ordering, the vertical ordering of the list. That's totally possible with Angular CDK. That would require some reordering with Firestore, which is not hard, but also just one thing at a time here. Let's control our variables. And then what we want to do is we want to, what is it? You go into, we want to get the item that's being transferred. So transferring item, and that if you go into event.data, I don't think this is typed. So event.previous container.data, or it's not typed well, I believe. Previous container.data, and then this is an array, and we can say event.previous index. So what was the event? So basically it says, let's go into the container it was being transferred from. Let's look at its data, so the list of items in that column. And then let's go into the event, get the previous index of that previous container. So before, no moving has happened yet, so we can trust this index. And we can say, okay, so it has, so this is the item that is being transferred. And I believe there's going to be some weirdness with the typings here. So I might end up having to cast this as any, because then what we can do is we can get the actual category by the previous, by getting the, what is it? Const category is event.container.ID. So that's the actual DOM ID of the container that we were dragging from. We could also use previous container. It's just, we have an abundance of information here. And then from there, what I want to do is I could use the Angular CDK's built-in methods. So they have methods you import from it. So like all the way up here, I'm just importing the type. But there's ones, I think it's called like move. Show me it. Move item in array. So that's what reorders it vertically in our case. And then there's also transfer. Is that it? Transfer array item, which transfers it from one array to the other. So horizontal, that's not a word, horizontal in our case. So that's what you would do if you are not concerned about syncing. So that being, if I wanted to just say locally, I drag that over, I transfer the item, what that will do is it will rearrange all the local arrays. And then let's say I wasn't using something like Firebase, like some just REST backend, I would then hit save and or auto save it after that event was over to get the new items in the array to make sure they're in the right columns. But Firebase works, or Firestore specifically works different in the way that you make an update and then down from the server, you get that update. Or when someone else makes an update, it will change where those columns are. So by us trying to locally do it and then write that up is going to create lots of race conditions where the board's just going to be jumping all over the place. So we're not going to do that. And actually, this makes it easier. So what we do is we just update it in the database. Because if you think about it, what that does is it says, okay, I have the new container, I have the new category that this task has to belong to. Let me just update it. Firestore triggers that for all connected clients and then moves it in the array across the field. So it really cuts down, doesn't eliminate on the race conditions, but it cuts down quite a bit. So I'd say this.afs.collection. Actually, I think I do it in the task call. What am I doing? So this.task call. And then so the task collection doc, what is it? Why doesn't it like tasks call? There we go. Documents, and then we can get the transferring. This is where I think the type problems are going to come into play. Oops, what did I do? Transferring item .id. Yeah, see, it's going to be like, this doesn't have that. What are you talking about? But it does. It does. I think it's because of this up here. Oh, I think that's why, because the way I typed it. Oops, how did that happen? That's an any now. I think I could probably transfer this to the calm task. That work? Oh, not in the yellow me. All right, so that's what. So now if I save it, and let me check the comments. It's been a while. Virtual scroll and drag and drop. Yeah, virtual scroll. Oh yeah, the CDK's virtual scroll is amazing. Also very excited for virtual scroll just to be a thing on the web one day. That would be really nice. I once worked on a really big project at Firebase, and we had to load in tons and tons and tons of data. And the Angular material team, Angular 2, I think we were still calling it, was new, and they didn't have virtual scroll, and we had to make our own virtual scroll. You get a whole level of respect for how difficult that is to do. All right, so let's go into Kanban, and oh, look at that. And so we have these little placeholder classes, and then, why is it? Oh, this happens when there's an error, obviously. What is it not like? Oh, wait, no, it's just not dropping. Why isn't it dropping? It's teasing us. It's like, hey, I'm going to be in progress. No, I'm not. This is how it feels like every morning when you try to get started on something. You're like, oh, it's in progress. No, actually, no, it's not. Oh, it's in progress. Actually, I'm going to check Twitter. That's how I feel. All right, so let's figure out what's happening. This is going to require some debugger statements. So let's go and do a debugger. Always a little scared when I do debugger across like iframe style things. Weird stuff can happen. All right, so here we go. It's loaded. Let's drag this. Bing. All right, cool. StackBlitz, thank you so much for the source maps. All right, so what happens here? We go here. Okay, and the transferring item is used. Yep, see, this is our column task. We got our ID. I'm happy about that. Category. Oh, what am I doing? Oh, It's one of those moments where you look at what you did and you're just like, hi, everybody. I'm a smart developer. I promise you. That's me. I work at Google. Whenever I do something really dumb, whether I'm at Google or not, I always turn around and I'm like, did you know that I work at Google? Because it was very dumb. All right, so basically all I did was create a doc. I didn't actually set anything, and I was like, why didn't it work? So let's go and fix that. Okay, so that is, let me ask a question. I feel like, what time is it? See, like it's almost 10 minutes since the last chat. So how many boneheaded mistakes do you make a day? I make like a Google. My kids discovered Google as a number, and then they were like, oh, that's why they call it Google, because the stuff that comes back is a Google amount. And I was like, yeah, that's right. That's what that word means. It's a number. I'm like, oh yeah, that's why it's called Google, because it represents a large number of things. I don't know what the actual number is or anything, but I remember hearing the word Google before Google was a thing as a kid. And then now that word completely meaning something else. Okay, so now I think the changes have been made, and or did I not say? Oh no, I didn't even make the change. Wow, that's number 2. I work at Google. All right. I'm going to call .update, because we just only want to update the category, and then using the magic of ES 29,000 destructuring, you can say category, and then we'll just update it, and then that will sync. And that's sort of the cool thing that we're doing here. We don't have to tell Angular. Let me get rid of the debugger. We don't have to tell Angular CDK where to move items in the list. They will just get resynced with our hashtag map, task hash tag map, and automatically work for us. Let me save. 9 equals 0. That's good. Okay, so this one, and boom, look at that. That is awesome. So we're now moving, and if we look in the database, tasks, see if I can do this fast enough. Move this and go, yeah, we see it update. So now it's in progress. And the same thing, so if someone else was on another page and it was updated to done, when we come back, here it is on done. So now we have all these tasks, this one task. And yeah, I guess I'm up at my hour. I didn't get to adding. This was a new setup for me. So next time I'm going to be able to dial it in a little more. And so we just did one thing good. Do a good live stream. I hope it was good. So thank you all so much for coming out. The next episode will probably be next Monday as well. I'm going to be on Angular Air too on Wednesday with my friends on that panel, which I don't know, it kind of rotates, but Justin Schwarzenberger, Mike Brocky, Alyssa Nichol, like a lot of amazing people who are on that panel. And so we're going to be talking about all the new things in Angular Fire, pretty much none of the things that were here today. So the new analytics module, remote config, lots of really cool stuff. So if you're interested in Angular Fire, just tune in on Wednesday at whatever time it is. I don't know. I should probably know that. I think it's 11:30 my time, which is I'm Mountain Time. But yeah, thank you all for joining. Every Monday, I think going forward, we're going to just be building this out and just pushing along. So thank you all so much for coming out. And I will see you on the next episode of No, I'm just kidding. I will see you on the next Angular Fire live stream. Thank you all so much. Now I just got to figure out how to end this thing. Probably the end button.